10 days. That's all it took for Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, HTS, and a rebel coalition to storm from Idlib to Damascus, toppling the Assad regime. In an instant, a dangerous power vacuum appeared at the Turkey's doorstep. Was this a calculated move by Ankara, or was Turkey as shocked as the rest of the world? Whatever the truth, Turkey now finds itself as HTS's key ally, balancing the delicate task of preventing Syria's collapse while appeasing global and regional powers. The stakes couldn't be higher, and the challenges ahead are immense. In this episode, we'll uncover the 5 critical obstacles Turkey must overcome to secure its Syrian strategy. The Syrian conflict began in 2011 during the Arab Spring, with peaceful protests against Bashar al-Assad escalating into a brutal civil war. Assad's violent crackdown splintered Syria, turning it into a battlefield of faction and foreign powers. The Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces, SDF, backed by the US, gained dominance in northeastern Syria. Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, HTS, rooted in al-Qaeda, consolidated power in Idlib. Meanwhile, remnants of ISIS continued to stir unrest. Assad, bolstered by Russia and Iran, clung to fragile control over key areas. The dramatic advance of HTS from Idlib to Damascus upended this fragile balance. It underscores the growing challenges Turkey faces, from HTS's rise to Kurdish consolidation along its borders. To navigate this, Ankara must address these threats while managing its alliances with global and regional powers. Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, HTS, poses a significant dilemma for Turkey. Despite rebranding itself as a Syrian nationalist movement, HTS has never truly abandoned its extremist roots. Its strategic decisions to sever ties with ISIS in 2013 and later al-Qaeda in 2017 were not ideological shifts, but moves to ensure its survival. This history of betrayal makes HTS an unreliable partner for Turkey. HTS has also been accused of committing genocide and atrocities against minorities and Christians. These include mass executions, the destruction of churches, and the persecution of Yazidis. Such actions underscore the group's extremist nature and highlight the risks of its growing power in Syria. This will be difficult for Turkey's Western allies to accept, as it positions Ankara as the guarantor of a group designated as a terrorist organization. For Gulf monarchies like Saudi Arabia and the UAE, the concern goes beyond HTS's past atrocities. They fear that the group's ideological ties to al-Qaeda and its extremist rhetoric could embolden Islamist factions within their own countries, threatening the stability of their regimes. Turkey's inability to contain HTS risks alienating these powerful allies, whose financial and political support is crucial for Ankara's broader objectives in Syria. To address this challenge, Turkey must carefully undermine HTS's dominance without destabilizing the region or eroding its credibility as a stabilizing force. In northeastern Syria, the Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces, SDF, backed by the US, continues to consolidate power along Turkey's border, presenting another major challenge for Turkey. Ankara views the SDF as an extension of the PKK, a group it considers a terrorist organization. It fears this connection could strengthen Kurdish influence and lead to a push for autonomy near its borders, which Ankara is determined to prevent. Adding to the complexity, the Kurds control the majority of Syria's oil resources, which have become a key point of leverage. US companies are already planning to exploit these resources, solidifying the American-Kurdish partnership. This makes it highly unlikely that the US will relinquish control of these vital oil fields anytime soon. To make matters worse, Turkey has openly declared its goal of removing Kurdish extremists from Syria. However, aggressive moves to achieve this objective risks provoking a deeper rift with Washington.
I say this gently, respectfully, but gently. President Erdogan, the distinguished president of Turkey, leave the Kurds alone.
To succeed, Turkey must carefully balance its military objectives against Kurds in Syria with diplomacy, ensuring its actions do not escalate tensions with its allies or undermine its broader strategic goals in Syria. Despite the challenges, Syria's reconstruction offers Turkey a rare opportunity to strengthen its influence in the region. Stabilizing cities like Aleppo could pave the way for the voluntary return of millions of Syrian refugees, easing domestic political pressures and positioning Turkish businesses as leaders in rebuilding efforts. However, Turkey's struggling economy, including high inflation and a depreciating currency, means Ankara cannot rebuild Syria on its own. It needs significant financial support from Gulf monarchies like Saudi Arabia and the UAE to fund reconstruction projects. This support, however, is complicated by the Gulf states' wariness of Turkey's growing influence in the region. Ankara's backing of Muslim Brotherhood-aligned movements has long been a point of tension, as many Middle Eastern powers view the Brotherhood's ideology as a direct threat to their regimes. This ideological divide adds another layer of complexity to Turkey's efforts to secure cooperation from these nations. To succeed, Ankara must reassure Gulf powers that its actions in Syria align with their interests while navigating these ideological and geopolitical divides. By securing their support and managing reconstruction effectively, Turkey can enhance its regional influence while addressing its domestic economic concerns. The fall of Assad's regime has created a volatile landscape, with Iran and Israel positioned on opposing sides of escalating tensions. For Iran, Assad's collapse disrupts its axis of resistance, weakening its ability to support Hezbollah and project influence in the Levant. In response, Tehran may increase its support for proxy groups, raising the risk of retaliation from Israel. Israel, already exploiting the power vacuum in Syria, has expanded its presence in the Golan Heights and announced plans to double settlements in the region. This move threatens to further destabilize the area, as any additional territorial expansion into Syrian land could trigger broader regional conflict. Turkey also faces the challenge of preventing extremist groups from using Syria as a launchpad for attacks on Israel. While HTS has consolidated power, the wider power vacuum left by Assad's fall could enable other radical factions to stage provocations. Such actions risk drawing Israel deeper into Syria, with the potential for spiraling violence that could impact the entire region. To manage these risks, Turkey must position itself as a mediator, working to prevent a direct confrontation between Iran and Israel that could escalate into a wider regional conflict. At the same time, Ankara must address Israel's territorial ambitions in Syria, while ensuring that extremist groups are contained, preventing Syria from becoming a staging ground for further instability. Turkey's relationships with the US, Russia, and the EU are all at a critical juncture. With the US, Ankara must navigate the tension between its security concerns over the SDF and Washington's support for Kurdish forces. Adding to this complexity, northeastern Syria's oil resources are under Kurdish control, with US companies already planning to exploit these fields. This strengthens the American-Kurdish alliance and further complicates Turkey's efforts to assert influence in the region. For Russia, its military bases in Syria are not just about projecting power in the Middle East, but also support Moscow's broader strategic interests in Africa. However, the situation has become more complicated with HTS now in power. Russia's military support for the Assad regime against HTS, raise questions about how the Russia and HTS relationship will unfold. With the EU, Turkey must present itself as a stabilizing force to align with European priorities like promoting regional stability and addressing the refugee crisis. Failure to balance these alliances risks isolating Turkey and diminishing its ability to shape Syria's future. To succeed in appeasing its Western allies, Ankara must carefully navigate these competing interests, maintaining strategic partnerships while ensuring that its actions in Syria do not alienate powerful allies. HTS's rise and the ongoing conflict in Syria have forced Turkey to confront a range of difficult challenges. These include addressing extremist threats, countering Kurdish ambitions, navigating reconstruction efforts, and managing its relationships within a tangled web of regional and global alliances. Turkey's success depends on its ability to act decisively, balance competing interests, and project stability in a region teetering on the brink. The stakes couldn't be higher. The question now is, can Turkey rise to the occasion and secure its place as a key power in Syria, or will it fall victim to the chaos it seeks to control?